And welcome back into the Roundtable Road Trip. I'm Steph Vivier, and we are broadcasting live at the McBain Community Center with the City of Niagara Falls, a great city for generations to come. Of course, a huge part of what happens in the city is the roads. What are the plans? How are things going? Our next three guests are going to keep us updated on all of that. We welcome to the show Erik Nickel, General Manager of Municipal Works. Good morning, Erik.
Good morning.
Also with us, James Sticca, Director of Operations.
Good morning.
And Matt Bilodeau's back as well, Senior Manager of Transportation Services. Hey.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. It's good to see all you guys again. Thanks so much for getting up early after the Jays game and being here today. Who knew it was gonna go so late? Okay, let's get into some of the things. And Erik, the roads are. I'm sure you get a lot of calls, a lot of thoughts, a lot of opinions. Everybody's got thoughts on what roads need to be updated and worked on, right?
Yeah, I think it might be the most common question. When is my blank going to be fixed? And
yeah.
Roads are on everyone's mind all the time. They drive them every day.
For sure. Well, you do have a plan. You're not just willy-nilly, by the string of your pants figuring this whole thing out. So tell us about Operation Smooth Roads.
Yeah, so we are cutting ribbons and paving roads. It's a new initiative that we're launching today, actually. I'll be speaking more about it at council meeting tonight to celebrate some of our road improvements. And we're going to be trying to work on a plan to identify which roads we're going to be doing in the next 5 years. So the public might see more information on our social media, on our webpage, and our engagement pages about which roads are coming up. And then when we're finished those roads, we want to celebrate. We want to, we're going to take this like we would a mission. So we're going to approach it with the plan, and we're going to execute the plan, and then we're going to celebrate mission accomplished. So you'll see some information come up on our social media and our website. We hope the public can get engaged with us.
Okay, so how did you go about putting together what those priorities would be?
Well, the first step is finding the funding. So our roads are one of our biggest assets and our most costly assets. So that's the first step, and we're not quite there yet in determining the total funding package we need. But once we have that, we're going to be starting to look at all of our roads based on risk. So is it a bus route? Is it close to hospitals? And if it is, then it bumps it up higher in the priorities. And then we'll be planning that out over a 5-year period of time. And we hope to tell the public when their road will be coming up for repaving.
And what's the importance there of the sort of like celebration of it, the announcing that, hey, we did this?
So I think that's really important for our politicians to get behind, and even for the public to understand that it's a major investment. This year alone, we spent over $12 million on roads and over 20 kilometers. But you might not see that on your road, but we have 580 kilometers of road throughout the city, and we're doing the best we can with the funds we have. And so we're trying to celebrate those roads that we are finishing because we're making major investments over prior years' investments. And so when we can highlight the specific roads and cut those ribbons and get out there in the public, I think the community will see that there are those improvements, even though it might not be specifically on that road that they drive every day.
We also will tend to forget when something's a bit of a pain. We remember and we talk about it a lot, but when that pain goes away, we often forget.
Yeah, and that's not a bad thing because it means my phone doesn't ring as often. So when there's problems, my phone's ringing, and so part of the goal is to make sure we maintain that high level of service in our roads, and that means we've got to do a bit more in our reinvestment in the plan.
All right, let's go to James now. James Sticca, you're working with the graffiti. How big of an issue is it here in the city?
That's an interesting question. So a couple of years ago, I would have said not really much of an issue at all. Over the last 2 years or so, graffiti has really ramped up. And graffiti, we kind of look at it two different ways. There's kind of the graffiti, like the art graffiti, where Clark was talking earlier this morning, where you would get in touch with Clark and his committees and actually kind of have some authorized locations where local artists would put up some graffiti, and we'd use that as kind of a focal point and a feature. And there's the vandalism graffiti, and that's the kind of the stuff that we're trying to get rid of. And it's the vulgar things, the tagging, the things that nobody wants to see in our community. And those are the things we're trying to address and clean up very, very quickly.
I think it's important that what you just highlighted is that if someone is a graffiti artist and they want some space, like the city will work with you.
Absolutely, and that's why we have a great cultural committee, and Clark was here earlier. So, if somebody's interested in actually doing some art and if they're local graffiti artists, get in touch with Clark and his group, and they'll be able to kind of work with our group and figure out an appropriate space for it. But like I said, it's the tagging, it's the marking, it's the so-and-so was here. Nobody wants to see that, and we work hard to try to get rid of it.
Yeah, and tell me about that part of it, because sometimes I see this graffiti and I go, how did they even get up there, right?
I don't know if Spider-Man's around. Some of the spots are super dangerous. We've seen stuff on overpasses, on the sides of sound barrier walls. To be honest, it's a challenge for our crews to remove them safely. We need scissor lifts, special training working at heights, special equipment. But every challenge is a unique one, and our crews that are out doing the graffiti removal are really interested in taking those challenges on, so we're very grateful that we have a dedicated group of people who like to do that.
Yeah, and talk about the costs of it, because I think, maybe if people know how much this is taking out of tax dollars, you might have some proactive folks just kind of stepping in sometimes saying like, hey, let's not do this, or, identifying these folks to the police, that sort of thing.
And that's one of the biggest things we need help with, is the community, is identifying and finding the folks who think it's okay to tag our community. The cost-wise, it gets expensive. The material used to remove the product, we use an environmentally safe product, so that's a little bit more expensive than the bar sols of the world, but it's important for us to show environmental stewardship, and then our staff and resource time. A call doesn't just kind of have a crew roll out. We need to have administrative time, logging time, work order system, supervisor reviewing the site to make sure it's safe and appropriate for our staff to get out there, and then our vehicle and folks to actually get out there and do the work. So it's an expensive task. It's an important task. So the more help we can get from our members of our community to identify who's out there doing these, and we all see kind of similar tags out there. So by all means, let us know if you find somebody. Please call the police. We work closely with them and try to identify some of these people out there. So the more help we can get from the community, the better off we'll all be.
All right, so let them know if you see it. If you see something, say something. All right, Matt, let's take it over to you. And your area of focus is safety on the roads.
Yeah, so my role as transportation manager is to ensure that the roads are operating first safely and secondly smoothly. Make sure traffic is flowing, pedestrian and cycling activities are safe. And to do so, the city is developing a strategic road safety action plan. This has been a number of years in the making. The first step that we did was we had to look at all of our data, compile our data, so we're making decisions based on facts and objective data. So that has taken a couple of years. So now we have a system that houses traffic volumes for every road in the city. We have collision data going back at least 10 years for every road and mid-block in the city. And we're using that data based on science to identify locations that have the highest potential for safety benefit, meaning we're seeing more collisions than we would expect on those roads, and we're going to be committing dollars to those locations and make sure we're making the biggest proactive impact in the city.
Okay, well that's it's certainly a really focused approach.
Yeah, it's there's not an unlimited pool of money, so we want to make sure that our dollars are spent wisely and we're getting the biggest benefit for the community with those dollars.
Okay, any idea sort of where that might be at this point?
So we will be presenting to council within the next couple of months our plan. We do have our top locations for intersections and road sections, and we actually did 3, we call them in-service reviews this year, to look at those locations and figure out what's contributing to collisions in those locations. So the first location was Drummond Road between Lundy's Lane and Frederica Street. That was one of our highest ranking road sections. We also looked at the intersection of Dorchester Road and Morrison Street. Again, a busy intersection with a lot of collisions, more than we would expect. And then the section of Morrison Street between Dorchester and Drummond Road was another location that we looked at. So those reports are in draft right now, and they will be presented with council with the recommendations how to improve safety in those locations.
Really interesting that you can sort of pinpoint where all these things are happening. We think of accidents as sort of random acts, but there may be something specific going on.
The majority are, and it's tough to infer causation of different collisions, but when you start to see a pattern in a certain direction, you kind of think, hey, there's something here that we need to take a closer look at.
Yeah. So you haven't really identified specifically what at those spots is the issue yet.
Yeah. So say for example, Dorchester and Morrison, we'll see people going northbound, making a left turn. There's a predominance of collisions there. So perhaps visibility needs to improve. Perhaps the signal timing needs to be updated. But we're looking at the cause and effect of all the collisions in these various locations.
All right, and do you hear from the public on sort of their thoughts about those things?
Yeah, most definitely. The public is a great tool to help us identify hotspots. There are eyes and ears out there. We can't be everywhere all the time. So when we have a pattern of residents calling in, they kind of let us know, hey, we need to take a look here to see what's going on.
Well, because often if it's like a little fender bender or something, not even, there might not be a police report, like how do you find out that stuff?
Yeah, through word of mouth, through resident complaints and comments we receive through various channels. We have a record. I was looking at the stats this morning. On average, we have around 640 collisions per year. So those collisions help inform our systems and help identify where those hotspots are.
All right. Is that increased or decreased, or do we know?
We were seeing a slight increase prior to COVID, and then obviously when traffic volumes decreased during COVID, collisions went way down in the city. They haven't reached the levels we've seen pre-COVID, so that's a good sign. But they're staying steady at around 640 per year.
Oh,
And that's our
interesting.
5-year rolling average.
Okay. Well, we'll watch for those reports. Thanks so much, Matt.
You're welcome.
All right. Well, thank you, gentlemen.